jump on. All right. We're live, guys. I wanted to bring to you some excitement to your world. I wanted to bring to you into your living room racing with a professional race car driver. And his name is Guy Cosmo. He travels the world winning championships everywhere. and I wanted to just share with everyone out there a little bit about what life is like for a professional race car driver in our new environment of COVID and everything, and how we're having to kind of work at home and stay at home. And so professional athletes have a completely different thing that has happened to them now, to where they're having to adjust and things, their whole livelihoods have been turned upside down. And I wanted to introduce to everybody Guy Cosmo. You've been racing for forever, and you have had everything change for you on this. And I just wanted to introduce everybody to you. Currently, you're racing for Bentley right now, correct?
Yeah.
And
racing for Bentley in the GT World Challenge America series. And that's a series that runs throughout North America, racing primarily GT3 based cars. And these are, like the wild beast race car versions of everything you see on the roads: Porsches, Ferraris, BMWs, Audis, Bentleys, Aston Martins. It's intense, and they're really cool cars, and it's a great circuit. But now we're sitting at home.
Now you're sitting at home, and you're on doing a lot of iRacing stuff. I mean, because you've raced everything. I mean, I've even seen you. I mean, you even drove a Formula One car. I got a video of you driving a Formula One car out there. I mean, so you've been behind the wheel of everything out there, and so now being home and doing all this. I mean, how is it? How's life going right now for you?
It's been it's different. Everything has just come to a screeching halt. So, we're not racing right now. Everybody's on lockdown. The sports industry altogether is on a massive shutdown. And a lot of these organizations have tried to do whatever they could to get creative to keep their fan base engaged, right? So, I mean, for me, everything that I do has just stopped. I'm not flying off to races. I'm not offering my private coaching, driver coaching services to other clients that I work with to generate income. Every single form of income that I could derive from my profession is at a complete standstill. So it's a stressful time. I don't have a way to make any money right now. I'd love to say that my contracts just keep coming through and everything keeps happening, but it just so happens that, I had a light schedule this season, racing in just this one championship. And, I got this beautiful house that you advised me on with all of this stuff with the mortgage. You are my perfect digital mortgage guy, but here I am sitting in this beautiful home with my family, and my kid's not in school. And my wife's not working now either. And, I'm freaking out. How am I going to keep this up, and how long is this break going to last for? If we don't get back to racing soon, and just like with all these other sports, I mean, granted, NBA, NFL, you name it, those guys have multi-million-dollar contracts. That's not me. So, maybe they can withstand a 6-month hiatus, but I cannot. I need to be working, and I need to be racing. But, one of the things that we're doing is just focusing on the day-to-day. This is an incredible opportunity to be home, and to be with your family. My wife is home with me every day. My kid is not in school. We are doing a lot of homeschooling. I mean, my wife is really spearheading all of that, but it's an opportunity for the three of us to be together 24/7 and do things that we wouldn't really have the opportunity to do on a normal basis, because you're so focused on work and you're traveling and you're doing whatever else you might be doing. So it's been great. We're having a lot of quality family time. We're having the opportunity to do projects and things that we haven't paid attention to in quite some time. We're doing landscaping and things around the house. We're painting rooms, we're tackling projects that you just usually kind of overlook because you're so busy with the rat race. And this is a really unique opportunity for all of us to try to make something positive come out of it. My wife is listening to podcasts constantly, and I'm researching all different forms of industry and technology and all of this stuff, and taking the time to learn something that I wouldn't usually have the time to look into. But it's also still very stressful, and managing the day to day is tough because, you know, all three of us are home all day long, and everybody needs some attention, everybody needs some alone time, some quiet time, whatever it might be. So we're trying to strike that balance.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, that and knowing that and trying to figure out when's racing coming back, you know, because right now everything's digital. Right now, you guys are spending an absorbent amount of time setting those cars up online. A lot of people don't realize how much setup goes into the digital racing and stuff that goes on into that stuff.
Yeah, and what's going on now is that, which is really smart. So many of the racing series that we compete in have said, you know, look, our fan base is bored. Everyone's at home, and we're not providing entertainment any longer. So what they've set out to do is to get all of us pro race car drivers involved in all of this esports racing and online racing. So there are services like iRacing, you know, other platforms. They're all mostly PC based, but a lot of it's also on the Xbox and the PlayStation. But the real racing simulation programs that we're using are PC based, and we've ramped up. A lot of us have invested in the equipment so that we could drive from home. And if you take a look behind me here, you know, there's my simulator setup. So I've got a state-of-the-art set of steering wheel and wheelbase and pedals, and this chassis with the fancy monitor and the whiz-bang PC computer that can handle all the processing and everything for it. And the driving experience is so real for us at home. And then they said, well, look, we're going to enter you guys in races. So not only can I keep sharp with driving the tracks that I'm going to be racing once I get back underway, or learning new tracks that I've never raced before, but they're keeping the camaraderie of our industry pretty high, because we're all getting together and we're doing these races online, and they are broadcasting them. They're live streamed on the internet. NASCAR is doing this as well, and their iRaces are actually broadcast on network television. So it's incredible, right? We're still providing a lot of entertainment, but it's twofold, because now you have access to all of these sports personalities from their homes. And some guys, this isn't panning out for too well. Some guys are getting in trouble. Some guys are a little too casual with their approach and with their comments and things, because they're not in their normal work environment. They're just sitting in their living room or wherever they are doing this. And some guys have gotten themselves into a lot of trouble by saying things that their sponsors or their teams didn't approve of, or, you know, they get so frustrated because racing digitally is not the same as racing in real life. And it is a huge learning curve for all of it. And to be so good in the professional world at your sport, and then go and hop on this simulator and really have a hard time with it and struggle, it brings out everybody's frustration. So there's been a lot of scratching and a lot of, you know, like negative spin. So a lot of guys have lost their racing jobs and been put on probation or suspended. I mean, like, this is life-changing stuff. And it all started because we're on lockdown and we're just trying to provide entertainment. And we're doing it through a game. You know, I mean, I hate to call it a game because this is real serious stuff. But fortunately for me, I haven't had any of that experience. You know, I'm frustrated with it because it's a learning curve. But it's really opened up this whole opportunity for us to look into another avenue of entertainment. And, you know, I'm doing live streaming from my races, and I'm gaining followers, and, you know, I have the opportunity to do endorsements and all of these things that you're now offering in a different way. So I would say, though, the biggest thing is that the amount of hours it takes for someone like me to be competitive in this virtual world is out of control. Like, I'm putting in, you know, 4 or 6 hours a night, you know, multiple nights, just trying to, you know, after my kid goes to bed, and I'm say to my wife, sorry, honey, see you later. I got to go hop on the simulator. You know? And it's just an enormous amount of time and effort. So as fun as it's been, and as cool as it is to do, it's also just hugely draining and time consuming. And it's now derailed family life at home, you know, because we had something really cool going and we were having fun and we're doing education and we're, you know, doing projects and all these things, you know, and now it's like, hey guys, I got to disappear for a couple hours because I won't be competitive for this weekend's race if I don't get practicing.
You got to practice. Yeah. You got to sit down.
And the setups and all of the adjustments and everything is just infinitely adjustable. And it's, there's so much to it. So, you know, it's been fun. It's been challenging. It's been frustrating, but it's been a really interesting time for all of us.
How have they given you any indication of when you might see yourself back on the track and any kind of opening back up of racing?
So it's an ongoing conversation on a daily basis. And all of the organizations we race within, they've been phenomenal, right? They are monitoring the situation with every state and every area that we're supposed to be racing in, checking with all the legislation and all the stuff that has to go into hosting these large spectator events. I think the biggest thing we're seeing now is these strategies fall in place for some events that have been rescheduled for much later in the year. Other venues were not able to reschedule because of all of their commitments, right? A racetrack just doesn't host a race event for one organization. They have races almost every weekend. So a lot of events have just flat been canceled. The target was that we would be back racing by June. Some series have further delayed, and we're hoping for July. Just yesterday, it was announced that our next race that we were on target for was the first weekend of June, which I thought was a little optimistic. And it turns out they just moved it to the last weekend of June. So, we are still just sitting and waiting on a daily basis for a schedule. And even at that, we have no idea what's really going on with COVID and this whole situation to say, are we all going to be safe enough for all of us to hop on airplanes and just start resuming life as normal, and going to these events and being close together and working together and having fans at the racetrack and the vendors and the suppliers and all of this stuff. It's and I could imagine it's the same for all of the other sports. How are you going to get these people together? Everyone's got to travel, and life has to open back up for that to happen. So we just don't know. And then we could get back racing and life could resume. And a month later, there could be a whole other wave of sickness or something that spreads. So it's a scary time because we don't know what's heading down the future for us. So that's all you can do is think positive and just try to hope that it'll go back to normal and get creative with what you're doing with your life on a daily basis.
I hope so. Because I know you travel so much. Just with the team you're with now, and then you were doing so much. You were traveling and you were in Asia for a while racing there, correct? And racing. So all over the world. So you're on international flights.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of concern. That's stressful, man.
Fortunately for me, all the international stuff ended right before this COVID stuff. So, or just as it had started, and that was one of the things when I finished up my travel schedule in Asia, we were wearing face masks and the flights were empty, and I had to travel to Malaysia and Thailand for those last two rounds. And, thankfully I was healthy, and I'm hoping I didn't bring anything back. I certainly don't think I did, but it was scary to be able to do that. And then it was just a couple of weeks later that, man, everything just went on lockdown. So we'll see.
Man. Yeah. I just thought it'd be interesting for people to hear a perspective of someone in the professional arena of racing and sports, and just to be able to see kind of how you guys have had to adjust. It looks like my connection's messing up just a little bit.
Yeah, I started with a little bit.
Let's see. Yeah. So, because you've been, I do want to, a question that I think some people might want to know that I know some people have asked me these questions is like how, and then shifting gears a little bit. So how did you end up in racing? How did you, other than, I know you probably came up racing go-karts and moving into that. And how did you move into the professional ranks? How did that happen for you?
Well, after a number of years of just racing as a hobby with my dad in go-karts, he's the one that kind of got me started. He raced on an amateur level for a couple of years, but he was always a gearhead, right? He was buying and selling cars, and I just kind of grew up around all of it, watching races on TV every weekend. That's how it all started. And then it was after a number of years of us just racing to have fun, we realized once I got into my 20s that if we made some more strategic decisions on what kind of racing I did, where I did it, what teams I was with, we could maybe formulate a bit of a plan for me to have a career in this, because that was not the intent originally. And I started racing when I was 13. And like I said, it wasn't until I was 20 or 21 before we decided maybe we should pursue this. So it really was just a hobby, and it really built an incredible relationship between my father and I, which was great. And we still share that relationship. It was really my mom's fault because she said to my dad, you need to find a hobby to spend more time with your son, because my dad had started a new business and he picked racing. So she might have regretted it every day since, but it's turned into something amazing for me. But, they afforded me the opportunity to pursue it. My parents owned their own company. I worked there at school. It was a manufacturing business, and they built packaging machinery and all kinds of high tech machinery. But my dad taught me everything I needed to learn about the mechanical side, but to put in the hard work. I couldn't go racing unless I was doing well in school, and if I did all the work on the car myself, and I got all the equipment ready, and we drove it to the track ourselves, and it was really a hands-on experience for me. So when I found some opportunities to start racing for higher profile teams, of course, my requirements were very different than they are now. I didn't need to get paid. I just needed an opportunity, right?
Yep.
All I needed was to showcase myself. So I needed a chance to get in a car, and I just went to racetracks to try to meet people and meet team owners and tell everybody, who I was and what I was racing and how I did. And, I'm looking to do this. And I found an opportunity. Somebody had been aware of me and my accomplishments from open wheel racing and formula cars and whatnot when I was in my early 20s. And, they gave me a chance to race at the 24-hour of Daytona in the sports car series. So, which was incredible, right? And I was in the top category of that race, my very first time. So it was that break that really got me in. And from there, I just needed to race more. Again, I needed to become a permanent name and a permanent fixture in the industry. So, I would do whatever I could do to go to races and meet people and network and develop a reputation for myself. So the more free opportunities I found to race, the more people saw what I could do. And then they would invite me back for a couple of events if they could afford to, right? Because I wasn't showing up with sponsorship or any funding behind me. I just needed to get in a car.
Yep.
If someone wanted the car to go fast. And fortunately for me, it worked. And, then I slowly got paid some prize money, and then they started covering my travel expenses. And then I was able to start charging, a fee for my services. And, it just year after year, it kind of snowballed. And all the while, I then found some jobs to teach at some driving schools, some racing schools. I started doing some private coaching for guys that were club racing or just doing track days on weekends where they could take their own car out to drive on the racetrack. So by sharing what I had learned, sharing my expertise and my knowledge, and just perseverance of, continually showing up at racetracks and trying to find these opportunities with teams, it worked out. And, I'm a lucky guy. I turned it into a career, and I've made a living out of my passion. And I know there aren't a lot of people that can say that. And I wish that everyone in the world could have that opportunity to do what they love and get paid to do it. And all I can say is you just have to try, and you can't give up. If you want it bad enough, you've just got to keep working at it, and you cannot give up because you will find a way. Yeah.
That's a really neat story, because I know a lot of karters and a lot of guys working their way up, and they always ask, like, how can I get to that next step? And I just say, just go up to one of the pro guys and ask them, how'd you get there? What's your roadmap that you went? There's all different kinds of ways. And but it's an interesting story on how, persistence and networking. It's just like in business, you got to know people, and you got to perform. You got to have, some skill sets and be able to make it happen. It's an interesting story, though. I've asked a number of pro drivers how they get to there, and it's just been an interesting story. There's a lot of similarity on the persistence component, and just making sure you meet those right initial contacts that kind of give you that first step forward, and then you just continually stay consistent. That's the big thing I hear there is you're really consistent on being at the track, networking, and making those contacts. Because I think it's pretty much season to season, pretty much in racing, right? I mean, imagine you get on, and then so season ends, then you're kind of, am I staying here or am I moving to the next? So you kind of constantly have your fingers out there and let people know you're available.
And that gets stuff to do as well, because obviously you want to be respectful to the opportunity that you do have, but before that season is over, if everybody doesn't know that you're going to become available, you need to let everyone know, but you don't want to do it when you're there at the racetrack on behalf of an existing organization and race team. So that's one thing I've really struggled with over the years, is that after I kind of made my way and I started driving for some high level teams for multiple years in a row, you know, my brand was kind of associated with that team. So people just assumed that I was going to be back, you know, with XYZ race team because I was there for 4 years or 5 years. And then you finally have that break, you know, where you're shifting directions or changing series or whatever it might be. And now you're back on the market. And all of a sudden that networking, you know, you've got to hustle to let everyone know that you're out there, you're available, you're looking for opportunities. And it gets real challenging, you know. So there are waves. I've had these seasons where I know heading into the end of the season that I'm secure for the following year or 2 years, you know, or 3 years. And then there's seasons where I have no idea what I'm going to be doing or how I'm going to generate any income, because I'm the silly guy that chose to make my sole source of income come from this racing industry. So,
and I think that's what some people don't realize. Some people go, oh, you know, you're in a professional level of sports, this life is easy, but they don't realize that you're at the professional level, the peak level. So your competition is the best of the best. And so you're competing with all the best of the best to get the best of the best jobs and get the right rides. And so every season you just don't know. And so that's stressful, you know. I mean, when you think your job is stressful, you know, if someone's sitting there thinking their job's stressful, you have a job,
right?
You know, where your situation is, you know, you're having to get with team to team. And you never know it after each season where you're going sometimes. And that can be a lot of stress, you know.
It really is.
And now with COVID, there's even an added level of that now.
Because we're all on standby, you know. So when we get back to racing, hopefully everything just continues as was originally planned for the start of the season. But again, without knowing what the future is going to look like for all of us with these, you know, entertainment, sporting event kind of careers, you know, this could be changed forever. What if this turns into a situation where we don't race with spectators any longer?
Yeah.
You know, what if they shut racing down or any of these major sports down? I mean, I don't foresee that happening. I don't even want to get into the statistics of COVID versus other diseases or viruses or anything else that's out there in the world, because that's a whole argument of its own.
Yeah.
I understand this is spreading quite rapidly, but when you look at the death rates, you know, and all the numbers involved in COVID versus just the common flu, you know, this is a bit of an extreme time. I know we need to take the precautions necessary to make sure that we don't help this spread and that we keep people safe. But I mean, the statistics are pretty low compared to a lot of other things in life that we maybe should be more focused on. But
that's a whole other.
What has changed, right?
Yes.
Significantly. This is the first time that life has actually come to a screeching halt, and things are becoming very different. So we don't know what we have lying ahead, and all we could hope is that a lot of us can go back to what we used to be doing or what we know we could do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be the entire population trying to reinvent themselves. So I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm just hoping that it'll kind of resume back to normal pretty soon for everybody.
Well, I'm hoping with things opening back up, then we see it again, because and I want to race Daytona coming up in December, so I'm hoping by then I'll be ready to race my kart there. So I'm hoping everything starts shifting, and I think we'll get there. You know, it's just, you know, a stressful time, but the good thing is you've been able to catch up on housework, the stuff that needs to be done around the house. Family life has been good. So you know, thinking of the positive spin on this, you know, that's good. You know, and you know, you work on the digital presence. You know, you have a YouTube channel, Twitter, and website, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, people want to follow you; they can find you. And when's the next race that you're running it?
So I've got one more race for the Roush Performance iRacing Series, which is this Friday night. That'll be broadcast live on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook, I believe. They've got it multi-streamed out. And then the series that I'm continuing with K-Pax and Bentley for the GT Rivals Esports Championship is every Sunday. So we've got, I think, 5 more events right? It runs all the way through the end of May, I believe. So every single weekend we're racing a new track. And oddly enough, the platform that we are racing in is called Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's based exactly for this racing. The game was designed for the series and for these cars and these drivers. And, you know, you go into the game and my name's on the car and my teammate's name is on the car. But it was primarily based around the European Championship. So the tracks we're racing are all over the world. There's only one track in North America that was on our schedule. So every week, not only are we trying to acclimate, prepare for this whole world, this virtual world, but we don't know the racetracks either. You know, this week, last weekend, we were racing in Belgium at Spa-Francorchamps. And, you know, this week's race is going to be Suzuka in Japan. And then after that, it's Kyalami in South Africa. And, like, you know, it's awesome because we're learning all these tracks we've dreamed of racing all of these years. But, you know, it's a heavy workload, especially when it's every single weekend. It's not 7 days, oddly enough, is not a lot of time to prepare, to learn a new track, dial the car settings in, and get yourself competitive enough. Because they are also allowing professional sim racers to join these races. Ooh. And they are typically whooping up on all of us real race car drivers. So
yeah, because
they're very, very competitive.
You guys are used to the G forces, and those guys are like, nah, it's no problem.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if someone wants to, when you live stream, can people hear you talk, or can they see you drive in? Is there like, you have a camera showing you? And
yeah, so I live stream what's happening on my full screen. You get to see the race from my perspective inside the cockpit of the car. So you see the steering wheel and you see everything I see out the windshield. And then I've got another picture-in-picture of a webcam, you know, that's facing me. And I've got a boom mic with my headset, and I'm just narrating, you know. So I'm playing race car driver and commentator and trying to just make it entertaining for people that want to watch in and see the race from my perspective. Because, you know, I mean, a lot of guys will want to watch the race, but, you know, they want to hear what I have to say about it. So it's actually turned out to be pretty fun. I'm trying to offer people a really unique kind of perspective. If they want to ride on board with me, they can come for a ride and get in the race car and race with me, you know?
Yeah,
and
that'd be cool.
About this guy and that guy and the strategies and what buttons am I supposed to press and look at this guy spinning out. I mean, it's been really fun. And like I said, it's offered something completely different that you can't offer in the real racing world. Yeah. So just trying to capitalize on it and make sure everybody has a great time to, you know, keep thinking about racing and support all of us that are out here trying to put on a good show for them.
That's good. I mean, and so they can, to be able to tie into you, do they just go to your YouTube page or something to tie in?
Yeah. So with any of my social media accounts, it's whatever the platform is /Guy Cosmo. And whether it's YouTube, Twitch, you know, Facebook, Instagram, you'll find me with Twitter, you know, you'll find me with all of that, just Guy Cosmo, and you'll find my stuff.
Awesome. I'm probably going to jump on this Friday, and it's Sunday. I'll try to, because what time is it on Friday?
Friday, the broadcast starts at 7 p.m.
I might be able to. It depends on the kids on what they make me do.
My wife's got to put the boy to sleep. And,
exactly.
You know, all that stuff. And then they tune in afterwards.
I'll have to see if I can talk my wife into it. I'm going to go watch it for a little bit.
Right? Sundays at 3 in the afternoon. Maybe that's easier.
I could do that.
Get the whole family to watch. It'll be good.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Well, I know you're a busy guy and you've got a living to make. So I don't want to hold you up too long, but I wanted to let everybody kind of just see what it's like to be a professional athlete in this world right now we're in, and also be able to see how they can actually tie in and watch you and follow you, because you're an awesome guy and you're fun to watch and fun to listen to online. I think a lot of people get a lot of entertainment out of it because you're really good at explaining things to even people that may not be as into racing and want to learn a little bit more about it. You do a good job of articulating it out there and letting people kind of understand really what's going on, because it goes over a lot of people's head. And when you really tie in and dive into what it's all about, it's really exciting. There's so many different levels to it and ways you can get involved. So that's what's really cool. But I appreciate you coming on, spending 30 minutes with me and being able to let everybody just kind of see what it's all about. So, I
appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. And anything else you want to let everybody know about?
No, you know, just stay safe and keep positive. It's all we can do. Try not to go stir crazy at home, you know. Life will all get back to normal and everything will be better soon enough. So just hang in there.
Yeah, you've shown him, but the stay positive mindset because what you're facing, you know, the unknown uncertainty of it, and then looking at the positive side of it. It's a great example.
Yeah,
definitely a great example. Well, I'm gonna shut us down here, and I appreciate you coming on. And if anybody wants to follow, just Guy Cosmo, you'll find him. Just look online and you'll track him down. Go see him this Friday and Sunday. You'll like what you see. See you guys.
Thanks, Joe. Take care of yourself.